Hey everyone, Simon here with Top Tennis Training, and in this video I'm going to analyze one of the greatest servers of all time, and that's Pete Sampras. Sampras, he didn't have the biggest serve, but what he lacked in power, he made up for with disguise and placement. So in this video we're going to take a closer look at his technique and analyze exactly what he did that made his serve so unique and so special. Now the first thing is, of course, the grip. So Sampras used the continental grip, and this is much like most professional players. This allows for that supination and pronation through the contact zone, and this is the grip that most players should be trying to serve with if you're not already doing so. Now Sampras' stands, he used a platform stance. So the pinpoint stance, someone like Rafael Nadal, this is where he brings his feet together, so his feet start apart and then he brings his feet together. Whereas with Sampras, with Federer and with Djokovic, they all start with the feet quite wide, so around shoulder width apart, and they keep that position the entire way through the motion. Now a slight difference with Sampras was the position of his back foot. He turned it a little bit more, he turned it more to the left side of the court. He was bringing this back leg much more behind his body, and this allowed him to really rotate his body much more than someone like a Becker, who would have his feet in almost alignment. That coil is crucial in Sampras' serve because it allows him to really store the energy in the trunk muscles, especially the side oblique muscles, but it also gives him great disguise. From this position, his back is facing the net. It's very hard for the opponent to actually see where Sampras is going to serve and where he's actually going to open up, how much he's going to open up, if he's going to open up more for a flat serve or if he's going to stay more side on for that kick serve. And it all starts with that back foot being slightly further behind the body's line. Now at the start of the Sampras serve, he actually does something quite unique, and this is something that we haven't seen too many players use when they're serving. At the very start of the serve, Sampras lifts his front foot like so. So now all his body weight, or 90% of his body weight, will go onto that back leg. You can try this right now if you simply stand up and put your feet in that kind of position and simply lift the front foot like so. So lift the toes off the ground. What this does is it shifts the body weight onto that back leg, and this is something that Sampras wants to use because he wants to store up the body weight on the back leg, so he then has that forward momentum when he actually hits that serve, as you'll see later on in this video. If you haven't done so already, also click the link below this video, and there you can download our free serve guide. All you have to do is click on the link, that will take you to our website. You simply enter your email address and we'll send you that free guide right away. You can download it, and it's the 5 steps to serving like a pro. This will make it much easier for him to actually put his body weight into the serve from that back leg to the front leg. If you think about your forehand, if I'm stepping in with a neutral stance forehand, and if I step in too early on my front foot, now my body weight has already transferred. I have nothing now to go into the shot. Whereas if I start off with my back foot taking the bulk of my body weight, and as I step forward, I now have that body weight going from the back leg to the front leg. That's the exact same motion that Sampras wants to have on his serve. He wants to store up the energy on that back leg and then later on transfer it through to the front leg and then into the shot. He also has quite a unique starting position with the racket head, and this is where you'll see him with his elbow away from the body, so he has a lot of space between the elbow and the torso, and he has his wrist quite loose. Now this is just building that looseness, that relaxation in the hand, but it's also creating a lot of space for him to then have that relaxed and loose drop down from that start position to the drop down position. and he doesn't have to force that drop. It's happening because of gravity. It's happening by building up momentum, so he's in that position at the start of the serve. Now with the ball toss, Sampras has a few unique things that he does on his serve. And the first thing is, as he's coiling the upper body, he'll then have his left hand, his tossing arm, come down to his groin. So it's coming from this position to this position. What that does is turn the upper body, so it coils the upper body, especially the shoulders, but it also ensures that he's now tossing the ball in line with the baseline. So it's almost like a rainbow ball toss. It's going from the right side of the court to the left side of the court. This will be crucial in helping him to disguise that serve. If I throw the ball outwards, every time I make a slight adjustment, so if I want to hit a kick serve, I'll throw it more to my left. If I want to hit a slice serve, I'll throw it more to my right. Those slight adjustments can be picked up by my opponent down there, the returner, and they'll know what my intention is before I've actually hit that serve. But with Sampras, because he's tossing the ball from here to here, now he can hit all the different serves with the same ball toss. If he wants to hit a flat serve or a slice serve, he'll hit the ball in front of his head. If he wants to hit that kick serve, he'll let the ball drop more to the left side of his body, and then he'll hit that kick serve with that same ball toss as with the first and the slice serve. So this ball toss is quite unique. It's something that Federer has copied, and also Djokovic has copied to some extent. You can see that they turn the shoulders, not as much as Sampras, but they still turn the shoulders. They have that similar ball toss going from the right to the left side of the court. From this position now, Sampras lets the racket drop. Now the racket is behind his right leg, so his back leg, and he'll start to lift up into that trophy position. Now while he's lifting, and just before he reaches that power position, so this position here, you'll tend to see that Sampras lets go of the grip with his pinky, his ring, and his middle finger in that position here. Now why is he doing this? A lot of people have asked us about this, and it comes down to simply relaxation. If I'm holding the racket really tight, my muscles are tight, my muscles are stiff, and they won't be able to fire in that explosive way that we want them to fire in. Now if I hold the grip quite loosely, and I don't actually hold the racket with the ends of the fingers, but I actually let the fingers come off, now my fingers are very loose, my muscles are loose, and my muscles will work in the most explosive way when I'm hitting a shot. Now this comes back to Sampras' serve. He's relaxing his fingers in that position to actually get rid of any tension in his hand and in the muscles. The other thing that Sampras does prior to reaching that trophy position is he actually stretches the chest muscles by leading the way back with his elbow. So most players will lift up and they'll have their elbow in that kind of alignment when they reach that power position. Whereas with Sampras, as he drops the racket, he starts to lift up by pulling this elbow back, and almost imagining, if you think about when you're in the gym and you're doing a back row, that kind of motion Sampras incorporates into his serve. So he's dropping the racket, he starts to lift up, and now this elbow is stretching the chest muscles and making his range of motion much bigger because of this stretch in the chest. He's storing energy now in one of the major muscle groups of the upper body, and those are the chest muscles. At the same time as he's stretching now the chest on this side, he then also stretches the chest on the left side. So he's tossed the ball, he's let go, and instead of keeping his palm up to the sky, he turns his palm outwards like so, and that creates more of a stretch in the chest. So now he's stretching the chest from both sides, so that when he actually snaps, he has that contraction from the chest muscles, which will increase his power and range of motion. At the same time that this is happening, he's also dropping the back shoulder. So the right shoulder will drop down and the left shoulder will rise up. He started out here, he's dropped the racket, he's turned up now with the palm, and at the same time he's dropping the shoulder, and while that's happening, his hips and especially his glute muscles are stretching into the baseline. So he's almost leading into the court as if he was going to sit in a chair. So if you imagine now this line here, if there was a chair inside the court, Sampras almost imagines he's going to actually sit in that chair, and he's stretching the left side of his body by doing so. This will also help him to then transfer his body weight into the court, perfect for when he's serving and volleying and coming forward, transitioning into the net. If you're someone like Federer who just stays on the baseline, you'll have that upward vertical jump, but you won't have so much momentum going forward into the court. Whereas with a player like Sampras or someone like Sam Groff, they'll really stretch the left side of their body, so they're storing energy, and especially the left oblique. And when they then contract and have that shoulder over shoulder action, they'll then have the muscles squeezing, and this will then pull them, almost propel them into the court, far into the court, and allow them to easily transition into that net. Now this goes back to the body weight, and once again starting off on the back leg. If Sampras starts off on the left leg, he wouldn't be able to stretch as much, and he wouldn't have that forward momentum carrying him into the court. But because he starts out in that position, now when he goes into that stretch position, he has the body weight going from the back leg to the front leg and into the court. Then from that power position, he'll have the racket drop. Now Sampras had one of the greatest racket drops on his serve, and this was because of the flexibility in his shoulder region. And this is something that wasn't by chance. He worked on this on a daily basis. I've watched him a few times training at Queen's Club and at Wimbledon. On all the occasions I saw him training, after the session I'd see him with his physio or his fitness trainer doing some special stretches to increase the range of motion in his shoulder joint. So he's just increasing that range of motion, and this is something that all big servers will work on. You want to have a nice racket drop from the trophy position. When you explode up, you want that racket to drop down as far as possible, and this is only possible if you have that flexibility in the shoulder region. If you're tight, if you're stiff, you won't have much of a racket drop, and you'll be losing that range of motion that's required to actually accelerate properly through the contact zone. So depending on the serve, Sampras will change how much he opens up his body. If he's going for more of a flat serve, he'll really open up, so he's coiled up with his upper body, and then he'll uncoil using this left hand to really pull down to open up the shoulders. So this left hand is crucial on the Sampras serve. As soon as he reaches that trophy position, this left arm will start to pull down and pull away from the point of contact, away from his target, which is the ball, and that will open up the shoulders and start that kinetic chain that he wants of that seesaw motion, the shoulder over shoulder cartwheel type of action that then allows his right arm to reach up into the ball. Now a lot has been made about the Sampras snap. This is where he's hitting the shot, and then instead of finishing in that kind of traditional finish, he actually hits the serve and snaps the elbow, so he's in that kind of position. Now if I hit my serve and allow the racket just to travel outwards like so, it's actually slowing down right as soon as I make contact. So I'm making contact and I'm slowing down the racket head because of the racket being extended and being away from my body. And if I still accelerate through this part, it will stress my shoulder massively and I'll end up injured. But if I snap down and keep my elbow in that position and at the same time pronate, now I can actually produce racket head speed from the snap. So during the contact zone, I'm still creating more racket head speed, and this will allow me to easily change where I'm hitting on the court. It's not for everyone, but it worked for Sampras, it also worked for Boris Becker, so some players can incorporate it into their own game. Now if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you get notified whenever we release a new video. Share this video with anyone who would benefit from watching it, any Sampras fans, and anyone who likes Pete Sampras' motion, then please share this video with them. Signing off, Simon from TTT, all the best and see you soon guys.